You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again, back in your lives here for the bi-weekly options extravaganza known as the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-compelling, at least we tend to think so, Options Insider Radio Network. If I sound a little bit different, if I sound a little bit, a little bit down, it's because, and on top of all the other medical fun I've been having lately, I started feeling a little weird this past weekend. I've been traveling out of state, and sure enough, I got the COVID. So after dodging this plague for 2+ years, going to extraordinary lengths to do so, it finally caught up with me this past weekend. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm coming out the other side of it now. But if my voice sounds a little different, if I break down into coughing spasms throughout the show, you'll know why. But you know what, listeners? We like you folks. We love you folks so much that not even COVID is going to knock the Option Block from its appointed airwaves. Going to do things a little bit differently. We are in the mobile studio. I'm still not 100%, so we are going to hold off on the Guess That 80s Wrestler. We're also going to hold off on picking the winner for the trading block for June, the pro trading crate, I should say, excuse me. I want to do that when I'm in a more celebratory mood. Not feeling it right now. But we have a good show lined up for you. Let's see who's joining me on the program. First, let's go out to the Southern Volatility Mecca, known as Austin, where we are joined once again by the greasiest of meatballs, Mr. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. Mr. Meatball, welcome back to the show, sir. I think he may have muted himself in his own excitement. All right.
You know what? Sorry. I know we're at the mobile studio, so I'm trying to not rock the boat too much. But sorry you're not feeling well. It's never a good thing when Longos aren't healthy.
Yeah, it's when it rains, it pours. The last couple of weeks, it's like it's been hitting me left, right, and central. After having a couple of years of relatively health-free incidents, all of a sudden, the last couple of weeks, it's just been kind of knockout blows left, right, and center. But I'm feeling all right now, thankfully. Better than I was a couple of days ago, that's for sure.
Good.
And then also joining us, I do believe, if he can get all of his I's dotted and T's crossed and the wires connected out there, to the land of St. Charles, where we are joined once again by the uncleist of Mike's, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, are you there, sir?
I am here and happy to hear you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm not 100% yet, but I'm getting there. I'm fighting the good fight. And maybe this show will help perk me up as we keep on rolling. It is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, buddy, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down what the heck is trading out there. And after last week, we had a lot of green on the screen. Coming into the start of this week, we're seeing mostly red. S&P off about 0.75% as we kick off the show. Dow kind of unched, only off about 0.1% to the dark side, and the NASDAQ saying, hold my bear, off about 1.7%. So it's certainly feeling its oats to the dark side. Weirdly enough, all of the vol products, we've seen a little bit of green, now a little bit of red. So pretty much everything is pretty much almost literally unched from where it was on our last show. Maybe a couple of points or a couple of fractions of a point away here or there. Like VIX Cash, for example, was about 26.25 when we kicked off the show. It's up almost a third of a point, but pretty much not much at all out there. VVIX was about an 88.5. That's actually up a little bit, up about 3.5. So maybe we are, dare I say it, getting a little bit of vol back in the market. VXX 2230 up about a third of a point. UVXY was at a 1340. It was literally unched from where we were on Thursday's show. SVIX was at an 11, literally unched from where we were on Thursday's show. UVIX 1530, literally unched from where we were on Thursday's show. And VolQ, why not? VolQ was also at a 31, literally unched from where we were this time last week. So if you look at these numbers, a whole heck of a lot of nothing has happened since the last time we gathered here on the option block. But there's more to read between the lines. Let's do that now. Let's go out in the order that we started. Let's go out to the greasiest of meatballs first. Mr. Meatballs, sir, what is lighting up your tape in a red day to kick off the week here?
Well, it's been a rough day for the NASDAQ. We saw a pretty big downgrade in Apple, Tesla getting smoked, all your mega caps taking the chin. But we do see some strength in the overall Dow, which is mostly flat. Retail is up. Delivery is up. Consumer staples look strong. So it's not the tech names that are really helping out the market today, although Apple does look a little stronger. Meme stocks are getting absolutely smoked. But your consumer staples continue to look incredibly strong. And that seems to be what is holding up this market and giving us a little bit of a lift. We were down, up to about 50 points at one point. Now we're only down about 27 in the S&P. The Russell 2000 still looking a little ugly. The NASDAQ still down 1.5%. But the Dow Jones is down 20 points. And that is all consumer staples.
Dow is bucking the trend. You can't take the Dow down today, listeners. You also can't take Uncle Mike down. He's usually flying high, even on a red day like it is out there today. So let's go out there for a dose of optimism, a dose of joy. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what do you got in store for us today?
Plenty of optimism, plenty of joy. I mean, just in looking at this, we have the S&P down 27, I believe we're at, or 26 right now. Wow. And then in the option block indicator, from the time that we've started this show, we're up 11 points in the last 12 minutes. So, I mean, that's always a good thing when you and Seabass can talk up the market. Good stuff happens. A little bit of a rally in the 10-year note right now. I think it's just kind of a little bit of a flight to safety, so to speak, from tech getting shellacked. That's kind of my read on it. We're getting a little bit of a gain in the VIX, up 6% on the day, with the S&P down roughly 0.6%. So that we are getting a 10-to-1 inverse ratio on there. And I know there's the weekend volatility factor that Sebastian can always explain very well. And so just in looking at this, I'm looking at it to where we're having a down day in the NASDAQ, and we're really not getting a lot of movement in silver for right now. But what we are seeing that I think is kind of interesting right now is that we have a 6% move in natural gas. That's not a big deal, but it's to the upside. But I think what's interesting is that oil's not following it. Oil's actually down 50 cents on the day. Now, it's a flat day in oil, which is not a big deal. Well, I guess maybe it can be a big deal with all the movement we've had lately. But the fact that we are getting a 6% move in natural gas and not a lot of movement in oil, that's something that piques my interest. And then, Bitcoin really sucks. BitcoinReallySucks.com, my website. And so that's down 5% on the day. And that's what I'm seeing right now.
Uncle Mike really angling for his guest spot on the Crypto Rundown coming up a little bit later today, huh? You really want to pump that Bitcoin Really Sucks on that show, sir?
No, I think I'd be fearful of my life and my family's life if I went on that show, quite honestly.
Yeah, the crypto folks kind of hardcore. They do take it seriously out there. They may spam your website with some unflattering comments. Let's just put it that way. Let's see what's going on out there in the markets. And it is kind of a tale of two markets out there. Looking at the VIX, and this is the kind of day you might expect to see a little bit of VIX paper lighting it up. And that's pretty much what we're seeing, a little bit of VIX paper. About a little north of 250,000, about 274,000 contracts on the tape right now. So not blowing the doors off, but not $1.25 either. The ADV has ticked up since our last show to about 485,000 right now. But then you get to SPY, and SPY is already over 4 million, 4.05 million. So SPY putting up some numbers. The ADV is 7 million, looks firmly on its way to hitting that today. The S is also closing in on 1 million contracts, about 940,000 contracts right now. When the S hits 1 million or close to 1 million contracts at this time, that's a pretty robust day. So the broad indices putting up some numbers. VIX doing all right, but not really keeping pace. The ADV and S right now, 2.25 million. That's pretty high. IWM, 326,000 right now. The ADV, 813. So it doesn't seem like small caps are going to make that number today. And the Qs already over 1.5 million, 1.51 million contracts right now. The ADV about 2.5 million. So the Qs seem like they're on their way to hitting their ADV as well. Let's see what's going on from a single name perspective. And it's actually looks like a kind of a quiet day in midsummer, which it really isn't, but date-wise it is. It's not that quiet of a broad market day, but intriguing stuff nonetheless. 147,000 contracts is all it cost you to break into the top 10 today, which is not really a heck of a lot. That gets you to NEO. That's usually a frequent offender in our top 10. Today, it is holding down the number 10 spot. Number 9, we've got our old friend AMC. Are the memes back? Is it meme time again? And I'll leave that up to you folks to decide, listeners. But either way, AMC is looking a little bit better today, even though it's kind of sections up about 1/4% today, about 40 cents or so right now, trading right around 14.70 out there for AMC. So I guess that's not nothing. That's something. Let's see, how high did it get? No, it didn't even hit a 15 handle today, but putting up some numbers, 170,000 on an otherwise kind of quiet single name day. Number 8, it's NVIDIA, 207,000 contracts, slightly outpaced by number 7, the artist formerly known as Facebook. Number 7, 209,000 contracts. Number 6, AMD, bumped from its usual number 4 spot. Now hanging out at number 6, 214,000 contracts. Number 5, it's BABA, kind of the bellwether for what's going on out there in China these days. It's BABA today. Let's see, where are they hanging out? BABA off 10 handles today, or 8.5%, trading right around 1 to 10 3/4 right now. Good for 229,000 contracts. And number 5 on our top 10 list. Number 4, you don't need me to tell you this one's active today. This is Twitter. Yeah, Musk finally kind of came out and did what everyone has been expecting him to do for the better part of the last month and changes. He finally backed out of his Twitter deal. It's such a strange backward process to come in to launch a bid, to announce a price that you were willing to pay for this thing, and then afterwards be like, oh yeah, maybe I want to do some due diligence now, and I'm going to do it in public. It's a backward. Try buying a house that way, listeners. Once you put your money down, you sign the paper, you're buying the house. And then you say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't do my inspection. I want to do it after the fact. Yeah, too late. You had your chance. Maybe you should have asked about bots before you announced your massive bid out of nowhere for this name. I don't know. Yeah, I think the SEC probably may have a thing or two to say about this down the road. They already have not exactly the biggest fans of Musk. He's sending stocks flying willy-nilly on the whim of his tweets. Today, Twitter, $33.50, down a little over $7. Or actually, no, that's $7 in the past 6 months. Today, it is down about $3.33, or about 9%. Of course, this one in the run-up, in the initial Musk furor, got up to 51.70 or so, looks like, on April 25th. And obviously a pale shadow of that now, back down to 33.5. Right before the Musk news, it was trading right around this level of 33.5 bucks. So we're getting right back down to where we were as these COVID sneezes start to rack me. I'll try to mute my mute button if I have to sneeze, listeners. All right. Number 4, Twitter, 427,000. Number 3, it's the Amazonian, 695,000 contracts. You know, the Flowmaster not impressed by the amount of numbers, amount of volume coming out of Amazon post 20-for-1 split, but they still are in our top 10 every day these days, and they weren't before. So that's something at least. Number 2, it's Apple, 717,000 contracts on the tape. And that means number 1 is good old Tesla, 787,000 contracts on the tape for Tesla. It's off 43 handles or 5.7%, trading right around $709 right now. Rough day here for Tesla when, you know, one Musk name gets dragged down. It kind of brings all the rest down with it out there. You know, Uncle Mike, on the last show, and it was just you and I doing it last week, we did some of our mid-year checkups on Google Trends data. And you asked a good question, which I did not have the answer to. You asked, where was the Mecca, the number 1 spot for options trading interest in the U.S. for the first 6 months of this year? And so we now have that data for you, sir. It is, we pulled up for options trading. Here are your top 5 options trading interest by sub-region, as Google terms it. 5 at a 72%. Number 1 is going to be 100%. Number 5 is Georgia. Remember, this is by per capita now, which is how things like Maine can sometimes pop in there. Number 4, we have New York State. That obviously makes a fair amount of sense. Number 3, Maryland. Interesting, getting back to that per capita thing. Maybe a lot of DC folks. Sometimes DC can get washed into that Maryland region, and maybe some DC folks searching some options. DC pops up on our podcast radar every now and then in terms of metrics where folks like to listen to the show. So perhaps that is it. I always like to think that maybe it's regulators listening. You never know. Number 2 is New Jersey. A lot of New Yorkers live in New Jersey, so listen into their shows there. Number 1, Uncle Mike, if you have not read the notes yet, if you had to guess what the number 1 option trading interest by subregion, aka state, what is the number 1 state in the U.S. for options trading interest in the last 6 months? What would you guess, sir?
My guess is, as sad as it's going to be, I don't think it's Maine anymore. I'm going to go with California.
An excellent guess, a sensible guess, which means it cannot be the right answer. It is Hawaii, number 1, 100%.
That's what I was going to guess. I was going to say Hawaii. How dare you not give me a chance?
You're right. I unfairly besmirched you by not allowing you to guess. Because, of course, everyone had Hawaii, excuse me, on the tips of their tongues out there. Yes, so there you go. All 3 of you who are searching for options in Hawaii and skewing the per capita numbers. We love you. Keep it up. It's just hilarious to me. When we ran those numbers, I had to check them twice to make sure. Tell you what, Mr. Meatball, I'll let you play on this one. We also ran the numbers for VIX. VIX actually and options combo, because VIX now, it's kind of become a washed out search term now that we have this Spanish language streaming service called VIX. It kind of gussies up the numbers a little bit. So we have to add in options to get a little bit more specific. So the top 5 interest by sub-region areas for VIX options for the first 6 months of this year. Number 5, Minnesota. I would not have guessed that. Number 4, Virginia. Back down to maybe they're throwing the DC into that mix down there. Sometimes these areas, how they measure them could get a little bit fluid. Number 3, this one makes a heck of a lot of sense, Illinois. Number 2, New York. So that one also makes a lot of sense. I get both of those. Mr. Meatball, without looking, can you guess the number 1 area of the U.S. for interest in VIX options for the first 6 months of this year, sir?
Well, everyone knows that outside of Austin, the most important trading area for VIX options is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is the hub for all VIX trading. I'm going Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Wow, very specific. Not just the state of Idaho, but the town within Idaho. That's very specific. Actually, it's Massachusetts.
Okay, that makes sense.
I guess. I mean, there's obviously some interest there around the Boston, Cambridge area. Fidelity is there. There's a few other things there. So a few funds. So yeah, there you go. Massachusetts, perhaps taking the number one spot away from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. By the way, related topics for people who are searching for VIX options. They also searched for moneyness and Black-Scholes model. And people who search for options trading related topics, Rivian. And the number 2 was wash sales. So there you go. Read into that what you will, listeners. In terms of earnings season, you know what? We're starting to get back in it again, listeners. You know, if you've been waiting for that magical moment when the worm turns and the season comes back, the tsunami that is the beginning of earnings season, the tidal wave washes over us. Well, that is now, listeners. It is coming back. We have, this week, some names you've actually heard of again, which is nice. Tuesday, we got PepsiCo. Wednesday, we got Delta Airlines. Thursday, now we're back in it. Now when we get the financials, we're back in it. Thursday, JP Morgan Chase and Morgan Stanley. Double dose of Morgans for your trading pleasure. Friday, Wells Fargo, PNC Bank, Citigroup, Progressive Corp, U.S. Bank Corp, and BlackRock. So yeah, you're getting a heavy dose of financials later this week, listeners. We've got some upcoming earnings reports. These bad boys actually hot off the presses from our buddies over there at Orats. So let's see what they got in store for us today. Let's go to PepsiCo today after the bell. They were trading right around 172 when they ran these numbers. They were pricing in $4.60, listeners. In the past, they've moved a little over $2. Man, where's all that PepsiCo juice coming from? That's a lot of juice. Let's go to Delta Airlines. The airlines, no shortage of juice out there these days. 13th before the bell for Delta Airlines. 29 3/4 is where they were trading. They were pricing in $1.86. In the past, they've moved 87 cents. So pretty much a full dollar's worth of extra juice out there. It's an airline. These are uncertain times. COVID is still raging. I can attest to that. So that means the airlines are going to be in flux again. It makes sense why there's a little bit more juice in Delta Airlines. JP Morgan, 14th before the bell. 114.36 is where they were trading. They were pricing in a little over $4, $4.12 to be precise. In the past, they've moved 261. So a lot of extra juice out there. Let's see if Citi is playing the same game. They're the 15th before the bell. 46.82 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $1.89. In the past, they've moved $1.12. So more juice there as well. Seems like more juice is the order of the day. Bank of America, 18th before the bell. So that's a week from now. So we're getting into the kind of second week of the new season. 31 3/4 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $1.44. In the past, they've moved 88 cents. So it seems like so far for all these big names we're tracking, listeners, the trend is a lot more juice, which is kind of interesting because we've been back to kind of underperformance of late. The last season came in at 83%, which was kind of weak. So we'll see if we can outdo that. Right now, still for your trading pleasure and education as well, we are monitoring via the earnings trades report 93 long straddles, 42 short straddles, and 95 long calendars. I don't see any entries or exits today, so that seems like that's the same numbers we were monitoring for you last time. Again, you can find all those reports. So that's the earnings season, which is going to get back into flux again. The earnings trades report, which is going to show you all the numbers that we're predicting for all the upcoming ones. When we have announcements, we'll have earnings move results for you. And if that's not enough, we'll give you the earnings trades reports. So you're getting 4 reports for nothing. TheOptionsInsider.com is the place to go. Meanwhile, we got to go on into our next segment. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let us commence operations to the dark side. Let's go unleash the eye of Sauron, see what it fixes its fiery gaze upon today. And we're going to kick things off with Ericsson, or to use the technical name, Telefonaktiebolaget LM Ericsson ADR Class B. My goodness, that is a mouthful. That first name has about 14 syllables in it. Let's just call him Ericsson, because that is much easier on my COVID and addled tongue. You know Ericsson, Swedish multinational telecom name. Ticker symbol ERIC, ERIC, also much easier to pronounce than Telefonaktiebolaget, all one word, my goodness. Ericsson, yes, trading right now $7.34. A year ago, $13 exactly, and they got up to their high right around that time of $13.40. That was on July 15th. Then they kind of trended lower. They got down by December 1st. They were trading pretty much exactly $10. Then they rallied back up to $12.75. That was on, let's see, when was that? That was on February 8th. And then they kind of sold off hard again. They got back down to $7.71 on March 7th. Tried to rally again. They got up to about $9.66 on April 8th, and they gave up the ghost again. They hit their 52-week low of $7.22 around June 14th. And they've been pretty much hanging out around there ever since, trading today, $7.34, off another 22 cents today. Let's see what our eye of Sauron found. They found a whole freaking bunch of puts, to use the technical term out here. What first caught our eye was a block of 14,452 of the July 7 puts going up for 24 cents. That was a penny below the offer. That's a 135 vol, if you are intrigued, listeners. Then we sent back the Eye of Sauron to dig up some more. We found some more prints going up before that one. That one went up at 11.52. At 11.44, we saw 5,147 going up for 20 cents. Back when the market was a dime at 20, they lifted the offer 5,000 times. Then they picked up that 14,000 lots a few minutes later for 24 cents, and the market had moved from from a dime at 20 to 20 at 25. They bought a bunch more for 24 cents. Then they got some more a few minutes later for 22.6 cents, another 1,000. And the total of 22,000 they had done when we kicked off the show. Maybe they've done more since then. But interesting stuff. Mr. Meatball, these are kind of interesting. The 7 handle, we're flirting with it right now out here in my new favorite name, Telefonaktiebolaget LM Ericsson ADR Class B. Say that 5 times fast. I dare you. With COVID, I even managed to get one of those out, which is always impressive. But yes, a lot of puts on the docket here. July 7 puts. These are very near dated. There are, by the way, I should point this out. There is earnings coming up in this name. It is on July 14th. So clearly a little bit of earnings hedging going on here. What are your thoughts on these? Did these come up in your big money flow? What do you think about these Ericsson puts, sir?
Interesting. Very near dated. Pretty strong gamble on some disappointing earnings. Pretty interesting indeed. I think that points toward maybe some tough times for Ericsson here. The chart has not been very good to this one. And, I'm not one for earnings plays, but this is a pretty strong move for someone with earnings, 3 days out. So, pretty impressive.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. They're obviously paying up a bit because they got the old spookage out here. They think we're going to blow through that 52-week low in the next couple of sessions. Do you guys agree? Are you going to piggyback on these, or would you rather fade them? Are you going to sell these bad boys? They are bidding them up for you if you are intrigued to sell them. So intriguing stuff afoot. We'll know in a couple of days whether this trade is right or horribly wrong. So, well, maybe, let's see. Yeah, by Thursday, we can maybe come back to this one. I'll have to see if it's before or after the bell. Maybe we can even hit it on the show then. That would certainly be fun. We'll keep an eye on that one as we go out to our next name. This looks like this is a newcomer to the odd block. This is Contrafect Corp. Ticker symbol CFRX. I don't have any idea what this name does. I'm looking for it here. It's not giving me, there's no description literally on this name, except that it's headquartered out of Yonkers and has 38 employees. So not a big name, whatever the heck it is. Let's see. Contrafect Corp, trading $2.98 right now. pretty much unched on the day. A year ago, it was trading $4.17. Kind of sold off in the middle of the year to its low for the year of $2.11 on January 28th. Then it rallied right back up. So it's had a nice little range on the year from, $4 and change down to $2.11, then back up to its high for the year of $4.54, on April 20th. And it threatened it on April 20th, and it hit it on June 10th. So right after our normal day of June 8th. Hit 454 on June 10th, and then it sold off again to 279 on June 28th. So this thing's done a lot of living just in the last couple of months, and it rallied back up again to 351 on July 7th. Wow. This thing's been all over the place. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron found for us out here. It looks like someone is maybe fading this bad boy a little bit. Oh, my producers are telling me this is a clinical stage biotech company. I was going to guess, given the small size and the name, I was going to guess this is a biotech. And if that wasn't enough, the chart made me feel like it was a biotech. So that is definitely what it is. It's a clinical stage biotech company focused on discovering and developing biologic therapies for life-threatening, drug-resistant infectious diseases, particularly those treated in hospital settings. Well, there we go. We wish them success. No one wants those things. So, yes, good luck to them defeating all those hospital diseases. No one wants those. Thank you for the producers. My COVID-addled brain could not have looked that up. Let's see. CFRX right now, we've got the OC5 calls. Someone coming in and looks like blasting away on a 5,000 lot, which is a fair number for a pretty sleepy name. 5,000 lot of the OC5 calls for 45 cents. I got them done a nickel better than the bid. The market was atrocious. It was 40 cents at $1, but it's CFRX. No one even knows this name. So getting a 60 cent wide market makes a little bit of sense in this name. Still, they sold them for 45 cents. They got a nickel better than that crappy bid. So I guess that's something. If you are wondering, that is still a 145 volatility out there. So taking 45 cents down on this name through October, let's see, they're selling the 5 strike. So stopping yourself out at 545 on a name that has a 52-week high of $4.54, I should say. That isn't the worst thing. I'm just dialing back my chart a little bit. Now, of course, if we go back a little ways, if we go back to July of 2018, this thing was trading $26.50. So in that longer term perspective, maybe 545 isn't the best level, but over the past year, you can't argue with selling the stock $1 higher than the 52-week high. Mr. Meatball, what are your thoughts on everyone's favorite contrafects and these OC5 calls?
This is another one. I don't really know what do you know what they do? It's a $3 stock.
It's a clinical stage biotech focused on discovering and developing biologic therapies for life-threatening drug-resistant infectious diseases, particularly those treated in hospital settings.
Well, you got to wonder whether that they have some sort of unknown thing there in October, but you're banking on a pretty strong move in OC. They bought or sold?
I think they sold them, and the market was terrible, but they got them a nickel off the bid. So I'm going to wager that they're just harvesting some premium here.
Yeah, I guess that makes some sense. If the stock is going to do anything, you need if you're long here and you're taking in some decent primo, why not? I wouldn't want to buy those calls. They're 165 vol. So no, here's the thing, Mark. Why would you sell those when you can get over 20 cents for the July pies that have 4 days to go?
Yeah, I definitely like those better. You know me, I like to sell my premium near dated anyway. I don't like to go out to October. So.
Well, right, but look at the premium. Look how much primo you're getting.
Yeah,
getting almost 1% of the 10% of the value of the stock selling the July pies, and you go out to OC and you're just not getting that. So I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Sell the July, collect that, then you can do it again in August. Look at that. What a magical thing that is. So yes, I guess they didn't read that part of the textbook when they discovered about premium selling.
It's important to read, folks.
In $3 names out here. Let's go out to another. Let's end it on another newcomer to the odd block. This is Tenaris SA. This is a global manufacturer and supplier of steel pipes and related services. What related services are there to steel pipes? Interesting. Primarily for the energy industry. Oh, there you go. So that should give them a little bit of volatility over the past year, I would think. And looks like the chart agrees with me. A year ago, they were trading $21.32, easy for me to say. By the way, ticker symbol TS, trading right now $26.11, up about a quarter on the day. And then they kind of began their slow march upward. And then by the middle of this year, they really kicked it into high gear. They went from $20 in December, and then by April, they were trading $33. By June 7th, almost June 8th, one day away, listeners, they hit their high for the year, $34.76. And then, kind of like the price of oil, they've kind of come right back down the other side now. They sold off actually back to $22.89 on July 6th. So for a brief period, they were almost unched on the year, pretty close to it. And then they have since rebounded in the last week or so. They've gone from 20. Actually, their 52-week low was $18.80. That came earlier in the year. And then this past week, it was $22.89. And they since have rallied back to where they are right now, right around $26 and change. So nice recovery over the past week. Intriguing to see just how closely linked to what we're seeing in the energy market this Tenaris SA is. When they're making pipes for that industry, it makes a certain amount of sense. But that's a pretty strong correlation there. Let's go look and see what our Eye of Sauron found. It is the AUG 27.5 calls. Now, this looks like some old school meme paper here. Looks like someone picking these up 2,400 times, paying $1 for these. They were 85 cents at $1. They said, we will take those. That's a 51 vol. The stock was a little bit lower. It's 25.64. So I guess they're smiling on that one right now. There are earnings in August. They are on August 3rd. So that's going to give an extra dimension to this one. They could have an extra leg up out there, but 27.5, paying $1 for them. You need to get all the way up to 28.5 We have been there not too long ago. June 7th, we were 34.53. So it can get there again. Mr. Meatball, what do you say about someone swinging for the fences and everyone's other favorite name, Tenaris SA?
Well, what you got to go for the home run, right? You got to take these swings to score, I suppose. Not one that I'm super familiar with, but maybe they know something I don't.
They all know something you don't, sir, which is why they're loading up on these calls. Just looking at what you guys are sending me in the chat here to distract me. As we keep on rolling, Uncle Mike's never distracted. He's down for the strategy block, and it starts right now.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Strategy Block, the portion of the show where Uncle Mike unleashes wit and or wisdom upon all of us, sir. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what do you got in store for us today as you're counting your profits from BitcoinReallySucks.com?
There we go. So today I want to talk about selling a put spread. Last week we talked about buying a put spread. Let's talk about selling one. And so what I mean by selling a vertical put spread, if XYZ stock is at 40, you could sell the 35 put and simultaneously buy the 30 put, and that would create a put spread. Now, why would you do that? A few weeks back, we talked about selling a put option as a way to take advantage of higher implied volatility as the stock market goes down and a way to possibly get into the stock. Well, this is a little bit different. Now, I'm talking about selling a put spread in a leveraged scenario. So in other words, you don't want to own the stock. You just simply have that other long put in there in case the market goes rip-roaring against you and it doesn't go your way. And so what I want to go over with this is how I like to sell put spreads when I do. My preferred medium is when the market is down and the VIX is up. Today would be one of those days. If I didn't already have one in, I'd probably look to sell one today. And so what that does is that means that from a market perspective, I like selling put spreads on down days, because that means, let's say the market's down, the S&P is down 50 points. And I want to sell one 200 points out of the money, meaning 200 points below where the S&P is. Well, if that's the case, then that means in order for my put spread to go in the money, The S&P will have needed to have gone down 250 points, not just 200, 250, because we already missed out on the first 50 points of that downturn. And that's not necessarily the numbers that I'm looking for. It's different every time, but I do like getting in when the market is going down on a down day. The other benefit to that is that a lot of times the VIX, or volatility in general, has an inverse correlation with the S&P 500. Market down, volatility higher. So that enables you to either sell a strike price that you would normally sell for a higher price than usual, or it gives you the ability to go to a lower strike price for the same amount that you were going to go to your original strike price to begin with in terms of selecting a strike price. So that's where I like to do it. Now, in terms of how do you make or lose money on these? Well, making money is the easy part if it works. If the market stays the same or goes higher, you make money. It's that simple. Typically, on the profit side, I like to get out when there is an opportunity to get out at 80% of the initial credit. So in other words, let's say that I sold this put spread for $1. If I can get out of it for 20 cents, that's usually the level with which I like to get out of it and take profit. That final 20 cents is just too hard to come by, and I don't really like going into settlement. Now, to the downside, that's where it gets a little bit more tricky. My rule on this, my hard and fast rule, is that rule number 1, never let put spreads go in the money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. Now, there would be times where I would let them go in the money, but that's only if I had set up a hedge or did something more advanced beforehand to where it wouldn't hurt me that bad for it to go in the money. But typically, I don't want these put spreads going in the money. And so on there, a lot of times what I like to do is when it gets to within a certain amount of points, I have a line in the sand. And that's when I like to roll down or just take the loss, one of the two. Meaning that what I would do is buy to close the current put spread and sell another one further down, possibly further out in time. A lot of times I'll just take a lesser credit and stay in the same time frame, but it depends on what's being offered to me at the time. So on here, what I like to do with put spreads, sell them on a down day when volatility is higher. That's when I like to get into them to initiate the position. In terms of taking profit, as soon as you can achieve 80% of the initial credit that you were looking to get, that's when I like to get out for profit. And to the downside, there's a few other intricacies to it, but the main one, my hard and fast rule, is that I never let them go in the money. For more information on selling put spreads, feel free to check out my YouTube channel, because either later today or tomorrow, I'll be releasing the video on selling put spreads on my YouTube channel. Just type in St. Charles Wealth Management.
There you go. St. Charles Wealth Management is the place to go. Meanwhile, we got a little bit of time, so let's head on into the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, welcome to the mail block, the portion of the show where we break down your questions, your comments, your insights. Also, how you guys break down in our polls, our questions of the week. Last week's question of the week, we asked you guys a little bit of a dire one, kind of surprised me. We asked you last week. The numbers are in from Options Clearing Corp. June total volume was down 7.4%, but the average daily volume was still up about 4.5%. And with half the year in the books, the question remained: will 2022 total options volume beat last year's record of nearly 10 billion contracts? We gave you 3 choices: heck no, heck yes, or what the heck's ADV? And it ended up coming out exactly 50% for heck no. So leaning towards the dark side from a volume perspective. That kind of surprised me. Heck yes, 40%. And then 10% of you, some folks out there, I don't know who you are, saying, what's ADV? You got to go listen to some of our options boot camp, some of our other stuff then if you don't know what ADV is. That kind of surprised me. I don't know. Mr. Meatball, does that surprise you that our audience is fading overall volume for this year, sir? Or did you expect that?
No, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, we're already seeing it. Individual equity volumes are falling off a cliff. We are seeing some of it move into index. But individual equity volumes are just not there. And why would they be there, right? The reason to use options on a name like AMC is that it's going absolutely insane and it's, going to go to 50 and who knows. Now that the belief is that a lot of these names aren't going to do anything, you get what you expect, and that is not a lot. And so I think you're going to see a nice uptick in index volume, but it's not going to be enough to cover everything going on, the loss in individual equities.
Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you. You had a chance to weigh in on this poll last week. Are you surprised that our audience came in on the dark side?
No, not at all. I agree with Sebas on this one.
Well, there's a first time for everything, I suppose. All right, let's go out to this week's question of the week. And this week, we're spreading our wings, or more importantly, we're giving you a chance to spread your wings. In particular, which spread with wings is finding its way into your trading arsenal right now? We gave you 4 choices, well, 3 and a bonus. Iron Condor, Iron Butterfly, the traditional butterfly, or other. And I won't reveal the results. It just went live right before showtime, so this has just commenced not too long ago. You got at options for the rest of this week. Go on over there and make your voice heard. Mr. Meatball, what do you think is winning right now, and what do you think our audience is voting for in terms of Iron Condor, Iron Fly, Butterfly, or other, sir?
Butterfly. I'm going to say butterfly.
A strong choice, an excellent choice. Mr. Meatball, or I should say Mr. Uncle Mike, are you agreeing again, or are you going to disagree?
I'll disagree. I'm going to go with the Condor.
Ooh, I like it. That's spitting some hot fire there from Uncle Mike. And turns out you're both right. Right? In the early voting, we have an exact tie, 33.3% each for the butterfly and the Iron Condor. So you are both right. No love for the Iron Fly, only 16.7%. The same amount, pretty much close to that for other out there. Again, this just went live right before showtime. Do you have a favorite spread with wings? Here's your chance. Remember, if you vote other, we want to hear what your other is. If you got some other esoteric, funky spread with wings. By the way, when we say butterfly, that includes like broken wings and all that kind of stuff. We kind of lump them all there together. It's obviously not enough slots to put all that stuff in there. But if you choose other, hit us up. Let us know. We want to know what you folks have on the old brain. Let's look in here. I'm looking here. So we got any interesting questions? You know what? Let's go to this one. He sent this in a while ago. It's kind of a silly one, but I'm kind of feeling in a silly mood today. This comes from Big Boy Blue. He says, off-topic question for a slow market day. I guess today kind of qualifies. So I listened to the gaming stock discussion on a recent show. Wow, this must have been a while ago. And it seems like you guys are into them. So I thought I'd ask, what are some of your personal favorites? So favorite gaming stocks, or do you mean favorite like games? Gaming stocks, I used to trade Activision quite a bit before it got caught up in the whole, Microsoft brouhaha now. But for a long time, Activision Blizzard, ATVI, was a extremely range-bound name, and it would bounce around in the mid-teens up to the low 20s and right back down again. And it was one of the more reliable premium harvesting names out there for a long time. And then the last few years, that obviously broke that cycle with everything else and shot straight up. But for a long time, that was kind of, if I had a gaming-related name that I traded regularly, that was it. Since then, and obviously now with the new leg with Microsoft, which still don't think that deal is approved. I'll have to go check. I know there was some regulatory concern on that front. So I haven't really been trading a lot of gaming stocks out there aside from that. I don't know, Mr. Meatball or Mr. Uncle Mike, any favorites? He means video game stocks that we've been paying attention to lately.
I was playing with Zynga on RiskArb before it got taken over by Take-Two. That was interesting, but it's gone now. Some of these gamings, if you can find an interesting gaming stock that maybe is going to get bought, that's where there can be some P&L, but really, I mean, they're all kind of boring now. EA, not that interesting.
The only thing exciting about EA now is like who's going to buy them now, right? They're the last big one left to be acquired.
EA and Take-Two are kind of the two interesting ones, and neither of them are that exciting. In terms of actual games, I think we can all agree that Zelda Breath of the Wild is probably the best video game in the last couple of years.
You're a big fan of that one. I never actually played that one.
Don't. You will disappear into the ether if you start playing that thing. It is a great game. Although my son is upstairs, or my little one, and actually both of them like playing the Fall Guys. That's been the game right now.
My son likes that one too. That's a fun one. That's a more of a multiplayer one. That's a fun one. He and I will play a little bit of Fortnite every now and then. He's got me into that one, so he and I will play Fortnite together. He likes getting all the skins and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they have good Marvel skins and everything else in there. So he and I will play a little Fortnite together.
Little Mark has been permanently banned from Fortnite. We made the decision that when we took it away and he started crying that he was a little too
hardcore. I get you. They can get pretty addictive. Yes. That is definitely the thing. Like some new ones like Elden Ring. That's like the modern updated take on the Zelda, but crazier. That's the one that everyone seems to be obsessed with. God of War is coming out at the end of this year. That should be a fun one. So a lot of good stuff on the actual gaming side as well. We should do a whole gaming show on the network. That'd be kind of fun. As we keep on rolling, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on here until our next episode on Thursday. Hopefully, I'll be feeling a lot better. We'll be more in a celebratory mood. We'll pick the winner of our June trading crate. Maybe we'll even do a make good on the wrestling, all sorts of other fun. But until then, let's go around the horn. Let's start with the Uncle list of Mikes. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what are you keeping an eye on until our Thursday episode?
All sorts of stuff. I mean, the main thing is I still think macro is a big thing right now. I don't think that we've heard the last of Vladimir Putin. He could definitely make some headlines, and then just continuing to watch oil, commodities in general. And I think that the 10-year note is still kind of flailing around here at this stage, but I think we're closer to the bottom than the top on it. So watching that, and then seeing if we can crack through the 3,900 mark on the SPX. We've done it. Can we do it again?
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, Mr. Meatball, same question for you. And also, my chat has just reminded me that Breath of the Wild 2 is due out this year. So you're excited for that as well?
Yeah, I think it's going to come out in early 2023, unfortunately. But yes, I am excited for Breath of the Wild 2. Although the development is taking way too long. They should have had this. I don't think they realized what they had on their hands when they let the first one go. But yeah, I am excited for that. That'll be a fun one, and yeah, I can't wait to play that.
There we go, Breath of the Wild 2, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. If you're saying to yourself, I need more content in my ear holes today. Damn his COVID self. And my producers agree with you. They're working me to the bone. We have a crypto rundown coming up in about an hour. I will be joined by the one and only Mr. Bill. So that'll be fun, at least, to break down all the world of crypto. Someday we'll get Uncle Mike on that show so he can regale us with his Bitcoin really sucks. I'm sure that would go over well with the audience of that program. But until then, Mr. Uncle Mike, if folks want to check you out, where should they go? What should they do?
If you'd like to check me out, feel free to visit my website, stcharleswealth.com, if you're looking for a financial advisor who delves in the option product if it's appropriate for the client. Also, if you're looking for more content, check out my YouTube channel. Just type in St. Charles Wealth Management and follow me on Twitter at Mike Tosaw, TOSAW.
Let's face it, options are always appropriate. They're appropriate for everybody. Little babies, old retired people. Everyone should have options, right? Yeah, give a little baby a call option. Why not? It's fun. It goes well. It grows right along with it. All right. And Mr. Meatball, same question for you, sir. If folks want to learn more, they want to jump on the option pit train, where should they get up?
We're putting out great content every day. Go to option.com, read our blogs, sign up to get them directly into your mailbox, and you will be a happy camper because we're putting out some incredible stuff. Optionpit.com is the place to go.
Optionpit.com is the place to go. We got to get on out of here. Don't worry, we'll be back again in an hour. And then, precious listeners, I get to rest after that. So no rest for the wicked. Back in an hour. Back again tomorrow as well for a pro Q&A. Hope you guys deluge us with questions. I don't have to say much for tomorrow's Pro Q&A. And then back again on Wednesday. Oh, my God. Options Bootcamp and Options Playbook Radio. They don't let me rest, listeners. And then Thursday, back again, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.